Hello everybody, Joel here. So today I would like to talk about strippers. No, not that kind. That's a different channel. I'm talking about wire strippers. So this is something in my toolbox that I have near and dear to my heart, as my trade is the electrical trade. I've got 3 strippers here that are in my toolbox, that are from my toolbox, and I'd just like to go over some of the features. Some of you may not know a couple of the features that are on your common wire stripper. So this is a very common one that I might see in somebody's toolbox. You may have one in yours. This is a crimper, combination crimper wire stripper. This one is made by Gardner Bender. It's a GB electric. Don't know how old it is, but you can see it's got a cutter on the end, and the cutter is not a very good cutter. Whenever you can see daylight through this cutter, it's just not going to cut very well. It's going to score the wire, then you could bend it from there, but it's just not a really good cutter. And then you move along here and you've got the crimping part of the tool for the insulated crimps. And then down here you've got the crimping part of the tool for your non-insulated. You can see the difference between them. And then here you've got, maybe this might be something that many of you don't know, these holes that are threaded with the markings on them, they are actually for cutting screws, machine screws. So they've got an 832, quarter 20, 1024, 1032, 632. So I've got an 832 here. You can take and thread that 832 right into the hole here. And then you can utilize the mechanism to cut it. But more on that later. So then you move down into the wire stripping portion of this tool, and you can see it's labeled very well, very clearly, as to which gauges you can strip. I find myself it's a little bit clumsy to use this. As a professional, this is one that I would only use if I were going to be crimping. And I might use it for cutting machine screws because of the higher leverage with this handle. You get some extra length in the handle, and that makes it nice for cutting the steel machine screws. But then we'll move on to the next one. I've got an Ideal wire stripper here, and this is a very nice tool. I remember, maybe many of you that are watching this remember the day of the straight handle and very, very little bit of a cushion in the actual handle of the tool. Now they're curving the handles for ergonomics. They are filling them with fat insulation made for cushioning purposes, and they really have a nice feel in the hand as compared to the way they were. But again, you've got the cutter, which is a nice scissors style action. You can see in here you've got the scissors action in that cutting, and that works a lot better than the just the crimp down action of the other one there, the Gardner Bender. But you've also got a hole here. I'll show you what I use the hole for. And then you've got the screw holes also for cutting the machine screws. Less of an option here. You've got 632 and an 832. But to be honest with you, those are about the only two you're going to be cutting with the hand anyways. I'd like to see somebody, well, I'm sure it can be done. I'd like to see somebody cut through a 1024 or a quarter 20 with one of these. That would be painful on the hand. But usually the first thing I do, this is my backup stripper. I actually just pulled it out of the box. I had it in my toolbox. I purchased it. And first thing I usually do is pull the spring out because I think the spring is more of a hindrance to me. I prefer, this is the one that I just took out of my pouch. I use the action just of my hand, and that works out pretty good for opening and closing the jaws and the cutter itself. So this is my go-to tool. Klein Tools came out with a version. It was shortly after, I believe, Ideal. Ideal was kind of the go-to for the cable wire strippers. Then Klein, as they expanded their line, they came out with one, and again, it was a straight handle. and very little cushioning in the handle, and now it's all curved and ergonomic, and it looks great. But same features as the Ideal. You can strip up to a, let's see, this one goes up to a stranded number 12, solid number 10. It's got the machine screw trimmers here, 632 and 832. This one has a locking feature. I usually bend that lock, so when I'm putting it in my pouch, I don't want it to lock on me. I want it to open up just at the drop of the hand like that, and that's going to be taking off. So I've got a piece of wire here. I stripped out some number 12. So I'll go ahead and strip a piece off of here, and then this hole right here I use for curling. Little half turn like that, and you get a pretty nice little curl. That's not the best curl, but you get what I'm saying. You just take, let me strip the other end off here. Go ahead and insert the wire right into the hole here, and just make a nice loop right around, curl that wire, and you've got a nice curl for putting onto your receptacle or your switch, your device, whatever you might have. And another feature that they have come out with that wasn't on the very first ones was they made the end into a very small pliers, kind of with some jagged teeth on there for gripping, and that works out really nice for grabbing hold of items. And if you got to pull something off off a wire, or just get on the end of a cable like that, that works pretty good. They have dedicated tools for stripping the sheath off of Romex. This is a piece of 12-2 Romex right here. And so they do have a dedicated tool. I believe Klein makes one, and it's very similar to the wire stripper. It's just got a kind of a Romex shape in the end of it, and as you crimp down on it, it will score the sheath, and then you can slide the sheath end right off. So over the years, I've used a million different things. I've used a regular electrician's style, kind of a jackknife, to strip the end of the cable. You just kind of pull the knife towards you, and it pulls off an end, and then you cut the ends off, and then you've got your cables exposed inside the sheath. Another way is to use a utility knife to just kind of score around the edges and then snap it and then pull that end right off. That usually works pretty well. I know some folks, actually, I had an apprentice that liked to use the end of the strippers like this to score, but as you can see, if you're going to use this to score the sheath, you're going to, if you squeeze too hard, you might get into the cable. In this instance, it would be the neutral cable. If you're trying to cut into this to score the end of it, you're going to do some damage to that neutral, or in some cases it may be the hot wire, as you can see on this side. But I had an apprentice that did this all the time, and that's how they would strip the NM. Well, we had a house that was getting ready for a final inspection. We flipped all the breakers on, and we were testing all of our circuits, and we had a dead circuit out in the garage. And the home run went up to the garage door opener, and everything was dead after that. Well, we searched and we searched. We couldn't find. We didn't remember where the home run had been run to, but lo and behold, we got out. It was probably about 12 feet up on the ceiling of a garage at the garage door opener. The apprentice, when he was stripping, had stripped it and had cut the hot cable. So at that, and it had just cut it enough so it had scored it through, but it was still holding together, and it didn't pull out when he pulled the sheath off. So there it was, just hanging up in there. We put the receptacle on and everything, didn't even notice that it was cut. But when we pulled the receptacle out and inspected the cables in there, you could see right away that it had been scored all the way through. So since I have this tool already in my pouch, what I like to do when I'm stripping the NM cable is utilize the corrugated portion of the stripper part just go across the cable like that so you can score it, and then you wiggle it back and forth, and there you've got your sheath pulled off. And it doesn't nick the wires, doesn't do any damage. You've got no problems. When utilizing the machine screw cutting portion, there's a threaded portion of the tool, and on the back side there's a non-threaded portion of the tool. So this is going to be cutting the screw with a shear action. So you go ahead and you want to make sure that you screw your machine screw into the threaded portion of the tool, and I'll explain why in a moment. But say you want to cut off maybe 3/4 of an inch. That's probably 3/4 of an inch, I'm guessing. So then you'll go ahead, you've screwed that in there, and then the shearing portion will cut that screw right off. Now, as you back the screw out, you will basically be re-threading the end of the screw. And now it's ready to be utilized in whatever fashion you need it to be. And here's the portion that I had trimmed off. Like I had said, this Klein tool is kind of my go-to stripper. It's the one that I have in the pouch and utilize most often, most frequently. But hopefully this video was able to just give you a couple of extra tips and techniques with the different variety of strippers that are out there for doing your wiring projects. If you like the video, hit the like and please subscribe. I'll try to get some more content out, maybe some other tool comparisons in the future. But thank you for watching, and we will see you all on the next one.